Hi ladies and gents, welcome back to Guide to SolidWorks. So in this tutorial today we are going to be looking at a CSWA example question, and this one in particular. So we're going to go through creating this model from this drawing. Now there's some specific information that we're given. So first of all we're told the material that we need to apply. We're looking at a 6061 alloy, so that's going to be an aluminium. With a density of 0.027 grams per millimeter cubed. So we can get that material from our materials library. We need to make sure that we've got our unit set in mmgs, millimeters, grams and seconds. We're going to make sure all of our dimensions are to 2 decimal places, and our origin point is arbitrary in this case, so it doesn't actually matter where that's going to be. We are given 2 missing values, the A values, which is 100 here, and all the holes that are going to go through our model are all the way through, unless otherwise stated. And I think the only one that would be this outer ring here and this circle here. There's the 2 cuts really, more than holes. And finally, just to add to that, the finishing face in here, so this one in here, where we've got our slot, is going to finish in line with the end of here. So it's not going to finish at the angle in which this is at, it's going to finish in line with the end of here. So we're going to have to figure out how to do that as well. Okay, right, so let's jump into this model. Okay, so how I go around starting this is modelling on a plane. So I'm going to do an extrusion on a plane. So I'm going to extrude. I'm going to pick the right plane, and I am going to sketch on that right plane just a rough outline of this bottom shape. So I'm going to start in this corner. I'm going to cross, down, cross, and just create this outline of a shape that we've got here. Now at the moment it's not mattering too much in terms of what we have, because we'll dimension it up in a second. So that's going to come across. Now we're going to have an arc in here, but at the moment I'm not bothered what that arc is. I do know, however, that I am going to have an angled face at the back, so I'm just going to put a bit of an angled face in there, and we'll sort that out in a second. That comes across and down, like so. So we've got that rough outline. Now let's start creating some relationships and get all this in line. So them 3 points there are all going to be horizontal to each other, and these 2 lower points here are also going to be horizontal to each other. Now I've got them in place, I can start to put some sizes in. So my first one is the gap across there, and that's going to be 50. My second one is this gap along here, and that's going to be 37.5. This inner space between these 2 is going to be 25. And then my next distance I have is from this edge here to this edge here, which is going to be 100. That gives me left with this overall distance from this end to this end, which in this case is 200. So let's get that in. Now the drop down on these is 10, so I'm just going to dimension one of them. Because I've set that relationship between the 2, it should move down for both of them, so I've set that at 10. The height of this back edge is 40, so I'm going to dimension that back edge to 40. And the height of this front edge here is 25, so I can get that to 25. Now my missing value across this top edge here, which is the A, is set to 100. So I'm going to change that to 100, like so. And I'm going to set this angle here to 30. Degrees, like so. Now that should leave me, it's going to throw up an error, but it should leave me there. Oh, no, not quite. Okay, yeah, so leaving me with 30 there, and we're going to cut out the arc in this in a minute. So I'm going to exit that sketch, I'm going to extrude that. Now I'm going to extrude it about the mid-plane, just because I always prefer, if I'm going to do a large extrusion like this, and I'm setting from the origin, for the origin to be down the centre of the model. Doesn't matter too much where it is, but just preference for myself. Now the extrusion is the A value, which is going to be 100, so I'm going to change that from 10 to 100, and tick there, like so. And that'll give me my extrusion for the general shape. Now once I've got that in, I'm going to put this arc in this front face. Okay, so if I'm just going to pop over to the drawing itself, drop that in. Now on the drawing here, we will see that we have our radius here 50, and that radius finishes 60 in from the edge and is 5 up or 5 down into this bottom base here. So I can work out with that 60 and then the diameter of 50 where roughly I'm going to be in terms of getting this circle in place. So let's have a quick look at creating that circle. So, right, I'm going to sketch on this face here. I'm going to do an extrusion, a cut extrude, and I'm going to create a circle somewhere in there. At the moment it doesn't matter how big or small it is, I'm just going to drop that on the page. We're going to create a centre line from down at the bottom base here through to that circle. First thing, then I'm going to set the diameter of this to 50, like so. I'm going to drag this down. Then what I want to do, sorry, that's a radius, the diameter needs to be 100, sorry. Okay. So I've got that circle to the right size, I've just not got it in the right place. I'm going to drag that centre up slightly there, and I'm going to make a relationship between this line and the bottom of this circle here. And now what that's going to give me is the distance from the centre down to this line, and I know it goes 5 mil down. Now the radius of this is 50, so if it goes 5 mil down, I need to go 45 from there. Okay, now the centre line here follows down the centre of the model, so therefore this is going to be 100 mil across, which should leave me with 60 at the edge there. So if I'm going from there to there, I want that to be 100. And tick there. Now it's going to give me an extrusion. It's trying to go most of the way through. It's going to go all the way through at 100. I want that to go back 30, and I'm just going to tick there, and we should have that shape. Now we can check this length of this line here. So if I click the length of the line, go to evaluate and go to measure, I should get the length of that line there. Try that again, and it's coming out at exactly 60, which means we've done that spot on. Okay. Right, so the next bit that I'm going to put in is the angular face up here. and that is set at 20 degrees to this plane face here. So let's have a look how we could do that. So I'm going to use this top plane. I'm going to features, I'm going to set a new plane, and I'm going to set it offset to this line here, and I want to set an angle there of 20 degrees. Now at the moment it's coming 20 degrees that way, so if I flip the side, it's going to change 20 degrees to the angle that I want. Now I've got that in place, I am going to go normal to that plane, like so, and then I'm going to sketch in the shape that I want. So, sketch on that plane. First thing I'm going to do is add in a center line. Now the center line is going to come up there. It is going to be 15 in to the outside edge plus 25 to the center of that section. So we're going to be going 40 across. Like so. Now once we've got that line in place, I'm going to offset off that line once I've got it to the right length. So I'm going to find the height up to the centre, which will be 40, and then I'm going to offset off that each way, so it's going to be 25 each way, and I want to make sure the bidirectional is selected, which in this case it is, and then I'm going to tick there, and I'm going to make sure I'm offsetting from that line, which gives me 25 each way of it. Tick there, and I'll get that shape that I want. If I join the bottom up, like so, and then I can just add in a circle from the centre, making sure that has a relationship with the edge there, and then we've got the full shape. So if I extrude that back, so features, extrude, I'm going to extrude these three contours here, and I'm going to extrude them up to the surface. So using the surface as my finishing or end point, I'm going to click this surface here, and you'll see now we get that preview extrusion back up to that surface. Tick there, and we have got to that shape, and I'm happy with the angle of it. Now we've got that in place, I'm going to sketch on that, and I'm going to create this the section of the extrusion out of here. So I'm going to sketch on there, sketch. I'm going to again move normal to this face here. So if I click on the face, hit Control and 8, it will go normal to that face. What that allows me to do then is sketch on that face, so get a circle, hover over the outside arc here, so grab the circle tool, hover over the outside arc, you'll pick up the centre, click on the centre, drag it out, repeat from the centre again, giving me two circles. I am now going to dimension them up, so one is 25, the outside being 25 and the inside being 12. Give me the two circles there. So now I've got that, I can go to features, I can go to extrude, and that is going to come up 15 mil. Like so. Okay, so let's get a better view of this as we're going. Oh, where are we hiding? There we go. Bit better view. Okay, so we've got that in place now. We've got this back section to do, but I just want to finish off by putting this hole in place here. So I'm going to sketch on this top plane. I'm going to take this inside circle and I'm going to go to convert entities, and I'm going to go to features and cut, and I'm going to cut that all the way through. So instead of using the blind as my end, I'm going to go to through all there, and it comes out the bottom. Tick, and we are happy now that that hole goes all the way through the model. Okay, so moving on to our last main part of this, which is going to be this bit around the top here, this angle up here in this face. Now, because at the beginning I put this angle of the 30-degree face on here, I know that that face is going to be perfect for doing my end section. So I don't need to create a new plane, I've already got that angle in there. That's just a bit of pre-thinking before we did the model. So I'm going to click on that face, I'm going to sketch on that face, and I'm going to create the shape that I want. Again, I'm going to move normal to that face, so Control and 8, zoom in, and from there I can now create the shape that I want. So I'm going to get a center point. From the center of this line here, I'm going to bring this up, and that's going to come up 50. So dimension, and I'm going to create that line 50 mil long. Okay, once I've got that in place, I'm going to use the offset tool again. I'm going to go bi-directional, but this time I'm going to go 35, being that being 70 across. So 35 each way. Tick that. I'm going to put my circle in the top, and I'm just going to close off the sketch at the bottom. Okay, now I've done that, if I go to features, I can extrude that shape. So I'm going to use that contour, and that contour. I don't need to bother about this bottom section because that is already at that 30-degree angle. I'm then going to go up to surface, and I'm going to click that back surface there. Tick. And I've now got that angle extrusion in place, and it blends into the surface that I already created at 30 degrees. Now I'm going to create these slots going across, so if I click on that front face, sketch on there, and I can now create a sketch, and I'm going to use a center line from the bottom there up to the top, and then repeat that process from this edge across to there. Okay, so if I again go normal to that face, I'm going to zoom in just to make this a little bit easier for myself, and I'm going to put a circle in the center of here where they meet. I'm going to set the radius to that as 25. Like so. There we go. Just making sure it's got a relationship to both lines so that it doesn't move around and it's fully defined. Okay, when we've got that in place, I'm now going to create again an offset. I'm going to do it for these two lines here. I'm going to change that offset distance there down to 5. Okay, so it's trying to take out this whole shape because I've got this sketch in place. Let's just go back. Okay, so let's do the offset first then. I want the offset to be based just on that. Okay, yeah, that was why. Sorry, I'd selected the whole face. That's why it was not like in the offset. I only want the offset for them two lines, 5 mil apart, like so. Now once I've got that, let's put that circle back in place. Dimension that out to 25. And now from there I'm going to go to features, I'm going to go to cut, and I am going to select all of these sections in here. There's a few things to select, but if I do them all in one sketch, it just makes it a little bit easier rather than having tons of things down the design tree. So I've got all them selected now. It's trying to go back 15. I only want to go back 5. And that is now complete for my slot. I'm just going to put that hole through the center, and then I've got one last thing to do after that. So I'm going to click on this top face, I'm going to go to sketch, I'm going to go to circle. Now if I take this outside edge again, move back in, find the center, and I'm going to dimension that up to, in this case, 15 diameter. Go to features and cut. I'm going to cut that all the way through, so go to through all as my end condition and tick there. And that comes out of the bottom like so. Now the last little bit is the fiddly bit, is just this where this slot finishes. At the moment it's finishing at a 30-degree angle to this plane because of the fact that we've cut this slot into it. Now what we actually want it to do, excuse me, is what we actually want it to do is finish on line with this, going down at 90 degrees. So we're going to have to edit that. Now there's a really easy way to do that. If we go into our command tools at the top, you can find this in here in one of your tools or inserts, but I always find it easier, or a lot easier to search for it. So if we type in move, you'll find the first thing that comes up is move face. So I'm going to click that. Now it asks me to select the face that I want to move, which is going to be that one there. Okay. Now I want to select it in terms of with a parameter of this line here. Okay. So that edge across. It's going to let me change an angle there. So I'm going to change that to 30 degrees. And you'll see in the preview, if I zoom in now, that it's made it go down at 90. Because this is offset at 30 degrees to this, we were able to go down at 90. Tick there, and you'll see that face move back so it's level with this here, like so. Okay, so last little bit now is just adding a material. Now the material that we asked for in here is an 6061 alloy, which is an aluminium, so it's not steel. I'm going to go to an aluminium alloy, right down, and I'm going to go for 6061 alloy there. I can double check it's correct. We're after 0.0027 grams per millimeters cubed, and I've got 27,000 kilograms per meters cubed. So yeah, because our units are in kilograms per meters cubed rather than grams per millimeters cubed, it's the same value. So I'm going to apply that, close, and we are done. So that is the completed example for the CSWA sample exam question. Please have a go. Hopefully you enjoyed the content, hopefully that was useful for you, and I will see you in the next video. Please like, please subscribe if you're new to the channel, and bye for now.